Chapter 1. The Unhinged One. 10 years after I died, my once gentle wife, Eleanor, had become completely unhinged, threatening to tear the world apart. The system dispatched dozens of agents to pacify her, but every single one failed spectacularly. Left with no other choice, the system resurrected me. As I was thrown before her, my memory wiped clean, a stream of comments appeared before my eyes. Is the system insane? The previous agents either looked like her late husband or had the same personality. And if not that, they were handsome geniuses. None of them could even move her affection level by a single point. This guy is just average, sharing only a gender with her husband. He'll probably be dead in a day. The system explained that my name was Liam. I was 23, and my mission was to redeem the ruthless woman who was a decade my senior, Eleanor. Don't make the same mistakes as the others, it warned, or you will die. It showed me the fates of all the previous agents. None had ended well. After the screen went dark, I looked at my own plain face in its reflection. I was so different from them. Could I really do this? The system was silent for so long, I thought I'd have to ask again. You can, it finally said, pausing for a moment. Only you can. I didn't understand what it meant. Following the system's directions, I found the San Francisco restaurant where Eleanor was, but her bodyguard stopped me before I could even get close. Eleanor, dressed in a red coat, sat by the window, waiting for her daughter to join her for a meal. Her eyes were downcast, not even a flicker of her gaze coming my way. Yet, as I looked at her cold, beautiful face, I was overcome with an unconscious urge to shout her name, a wave of sorrow and joy washing over me. I froze, and before I could even process it, one of her bodyguards kicked me aside, sending me sprawling. He jabbed a finger at my forehead, his voice harsh. Don't even think about people you don't deserve. This is just a warning. Next time, it won't be this easy. The sky abruptly turned from clear to overcast, and a heavy rain began to fall. I wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth and slowly pushed myself to my feet. A luxury car pulled up to the restaurant, and Eleanor's daughter hopped out. Eleanor stood to greet her, her face still devoid of any smile. Perhaps my stare was too intense, because as the girl took her mother's hand to go inside, she glanced over at me. I stood there stunned, forcing myself to stand straight and offer a gentle smile. The girl, unlike her mother, returned the polite glance, but it was just for a moment before a bodyguard blocked her view, and they disappeared inside. A sudden, sharp emptiness hollowed out my chest, leaving me disoriented and anxious. Before I could make sense of it, a new line of black text materialized in the air, fading as quickly as it appeared. Is the system crazy? How did he even qualify as an agent? The system must be terrified of Eleanor destroying the world. It's trying anything at this point. Too bad, she only went crazy because her husband died. She was completely in love with him. Hundreds of agents have been sent. Some looked just like him. Some had his personality. Some even came with all his memories. At the very least, they were all handsome and brilliant. I stared, trying to memorize every piece of information as it scrolled by. So this Eleanor they spoke of was that dangerous? No wonder the system kept telling me to be careful, to just focus on getting her to see my face in the beginning. It seemed the system was truly out of options to have chosen me. But what could someone as plain and unremarkable as me possibly do to redeem Eleanor? As I pondered this, the comments turned their attention back to me. But the world hasn't exploded yet, so that has nothing to do with the system, right? True, her husband only left her with a child. If she hadn't been pregnant with his baby, she would have taken the whole world with her as she died. After all, her late husband was her first love. He was probably the only person who ever thought she was gentle and kind. That's why she dropped the act the moment he died. Anyone who dared to show up using his memory met a terrible end. So what about this one? Besides being a man, he's nothing like him. Totally average looking. How is he supposed to win her over? I thought he'd be dead on day 1, but he actually survived. I'll bet he joins his predecessors on day 2. I'm in on that bet. A series of laughing emojis flooded the screen. In the freezing rain, I lowered my head and trudged away. I never expected my next encounter with Eleanor's world would be initiated by her daughter. She stopped me as I was leaving a clinic. Stop, she said, tilting her head up to stare at me intently. Do you know me? Why would she ask that? Still, I answered honestly. I don't know you. For a second, the little girl's smile faltered, a flicker of confusion in her eyes. The sparse comments on screen suddenly exploded into a dense wall of text. No, my brain can't handle this level of stupid. Where did the system find this genius? He doesn't even know the basics. Even if he doesn't, couldn't he at least pretend? Ignoring the comments, the girl spoke urgently, pointing to herself and then pressing a small blue mirror into my hand. Look at our eyes. Another comment popped up. So the system's plan is to tell Eleanor, hey, I found someone with the same eyes as your late husband. That's hilarious. Besides the eyes, he's nothing like him. What's so special about eyes anyway? I finally took a good look. So her late husband had this feature. Seeing my lack of reaction, her lips turned down, her expression mirroring her mother's, though her eyes held a deep disappointment. A woman in a business suit hurried over. Miss, what are you doing here? We need to go back. Your mother will be upset if she can't find you. The girl's head drooped as she was led away. After a few steps, she paused and said in a cold tone, go arrange a temporary place for that man to stay. He smells awful, like he hasn't showered in 3 days. Her words hit their mark, and my face flushed red. It was true. The system had given me no resources, and I'd only survived this long on the few dollars I had in my pocket. The girl left, leaving me to drag my aching legs forward. The system had told me I died in a kidnapping 10 years ago. According to the original story, a new male lead should have appeared in Eleanor's life, but she was fundamentally unhinged. The moment I died, she snapped, killing any agent who tried to get close, and gradually seizing control of most of the world's wealth and power. If this world collapsed, the system would disappear with it. It had been expending its own energy for years just to maintain stability, which was why when it resurrected me, it could only haphazardly piece my body back together, leaving only my eyes and the scars from my death intact. It was no wonder I was being ridiculed. Even I couldn't see any hope of success. But this was my only chance to live. First, I had to find a way to survive. I swallowed my pride and managed to get a job as a security guard at the entrance to Eleanor's luxury apartment complex in Pacific Heights. Being young, I often worked the night shift. Sometimes I'd see her daughter, who was no longer polite and would just give me a cold look. One night, around midnight, I was sipping some hot water I'd scrounged up in the security booth to warm myself. 2 minutes later, Eleanor's white BMW swept past. I knew it was her because the long-dormant comment stream burst to life. Finally, on day 10, I get to see Eleanor. What is this guy doing? Just going to work and doing nothing? Why isn't the system pushing him? My heart pounded in my chest. I was so flustered that by the time I looked up again, Eleanor was gone. A month later, I was finally able to stop sleeping in the security booth. Property management got a complaint and sent me up to deal with it. I glanced at the apartment number and felt a knot of tension in my stomach. It was Eleanor's. As the elevator ascended, I saw my own tense face in the reflection. The moment the doors opened on her floor, I heard a faint, rapid breathing. I immediately rushed to Eleanor's door and pounded on the doorbell. The comments were a stream of question marks. What is he doing, trying to break in? With that kind of energy, he should be downstairs waiting for Eleanor to come home. I paused for a second, staring at the door. The only response was the sound of more frantic breathing. I was sure it was Eleanor inside. After a moment of silence, on a whim, I tried a password, and the door clicked open. The comments were stunned, not only that I'd gotten the password right on the first try, but also by the scene inside. In the dim light, Eleanor was curled up on the sofa in a long dress, hugging herself tightly, her eyes filled with a lost, helpless terror. When the door opened, she turned her head, trembling. Though she was clearly drained of all strength, her eyes were full of alarm and vigilance. I switched on all the lights and pulled open the curtains. Seeing her relax slightly, I asked, "Where's your medicine?" Eleanor just stared at me without a word. I couldn't wait. I searched the apartment, found it, and brought it to her. She took the pills from my hand, and though her face was still pale, her breathing eased. My own heart was still clenched tight. I stood up under her gaze, wanting only to run, but she grabbed my wrist, her eyes locking onto me. "It's you, isn't it?" A barely perceptible light flashed in her eyes. I looked away, flustered, not daring to meet her gaze. Did she mistake me for her late husband? Seeing my silence, her grip loosened slightly. I took the opportunity to flee. Eleanor remained where she was, looking fragile and alone. The moment I closed the door, the comments started berating me again. He finally gets a lucky break, and he just leaves. Oh my God, this is the first time I've ever seen Eleanor like this. If it were me, I'd throw myself at her feet and shamelessly offer to take care of her. How often does the devil herself show this kind of vulnerability? He missed his chance. He'll probably have to wait for the next life. I knew what they wanted. They hoped I'd offend Eleanor and get myself killed like the previous agents, so they could see a new one. But I had a gut feeling that wasn't the right way to do this. For the next few days, Eleanor didn't cause any trouble for me, contrary to their predictions. Logic told me to forget what happened, but I found myself going home more often. She was still the high and mighty Eleanor, as if that night had just been a dream. Sometimes, I'd overhear my colleagues gossiping about her, how her life had been the same for 10 years, the only changes revolving around her daughter. They said she was difficult to approach, that even getting a few steps too close would earn you a warning from her bodyguards. They said someone with her wealth should be living in a standalone mansion, but she stayed here because of her late husband. They said she was living such a hard life, probably mourning him. I always listened in silence. I thought, maybe a difficult mission like this isn't worth it. It's not like I'm living well anyway. Even the comments got bored and resorted to personal attacks, with some even starting a daily check-in to see if I was dead yet. This went on for days. Because of my good nature, my workload kept increasing. I sometimes wondered if this mission had a time limit. How much longer did I have to endure? Lost in thought, I was walking a resident's cat around the complex when I wasn't paying attention and bumped hard into a man who was rushing past. His files scattered everywhere, and he kicked the cat, which scurried away in fright. I soothed the cat while kneeling to pick up the files and apologize. The man's brow was furrowed. He saw a scratch on his shoe and kicked me again. What's your employee number? What kind of job are you doing? I lowered my head and tried to explain. The man scoffed. I've never seen you before, new? Didn't your manager teach you the rules? The commotion drew a small crowd. I handed him the collected files, my head still bowed. I'm sorry. Please check if there's any problem with the documents. I can reprint them for you. Reprint them? Do you have any idea how valuable my time is? You think you can afford to compensate me for the time you've wasted? What am I going to do when Ms. Eleanor holds me responsible? The man was relentless, kicking me again in frustration. I just stood there, not even thinking to move. Then how would you like to resolve this? I'll cooperate. As the onlookers held their breath, I heard a car pull up nearby. A door opened, and footsteps approached. A slender figure stopped beside me. The man's aggressive tone vanished instantly. Ms. Eleanor, you're just in time. How many times did you just kick him? Eleanor's voice was flat, emotionless, but carried an immense weight. The man, confused, answered honestly, just twice. I went easy on him. People like him are worthless. Eleanor let out a cold laugh and waved her hand. 3 towering bodyguards appeared. Give it back to him. Her tone was light, but held an undeniable authority. The comments, no longer filled with bored curses, exploded into a dense stream of question marks. Did I miss a chapter? I haven't been watching for a few days. What happened, Eleanor? Aren't you supposed to not care about him? I stared, watching as Eleanor's bodyguards beat the man until his face was bruised and swollen. The man had no idea what he'd done wrong, wailing, Miss Eleanor, I was wrong. I was wrong. I was blind not to recognize this security guard's importance. Please let me go. Eleanor turned to look at me, her dark eyes unreadable. Should we let him go? Looking at the man's miserable state, the small bit of resentment I felt evaporated. Stop, please, I said, choosing my words carefully. Eleanor nodded, and with a slight wave of her hand, the bodyguards actually stopped. Our business relationship is over. The man struggled to his feet, his face ashen. He didn't dare say another word, just dragged his broken body away. This was the first time I'd seen Eleanor's ruthless side. No one in the crowd dared to intervene. In fact, the gossip-mongers had all scattered at the sight of her. Everyone knew how terrifying Eleanor could be. I managed a quiet, thank you, and tried to slip away myself, but she grabbed my wrist. Her hand was shockingly cold, but my eyes met hers, and they were smiling. Her voice was soft. Is this how you thank me? Her words made the comments explode again. Eleanor, wake up. He looks nothing like your late husband. Don't tell me you've fallen for him at first sight. I can't stand watching a beauty with a plain guy. Can someone tell me what he did? All he did was walk a cat, and somehow raised his affection level. Like them, I was baffled. I couldn't understand the sudden shift in Eleanor's feelings. It was as if she hadn't smiled in so long that I almost missed the slight curve of her lips. In her tone, it was almost like she was flirting. A shiver went down my spine, but somehow it didn't feel wrong. Deep down, a part of me felt that she was just a girl who knew how to be sweet. It seemed she didn't intend to wait for my answer. She scooped up the cat, which had been rubbing against her leg, and led me to a nearby bench. I flinched, and she immediately rolled up my pant leg. A guard handed her a bottle of liniment. I looked down at her, seeing only her delicate chin. She looked surprisingly gentle. Her palm rubbed my leg, warming it. I suddenly snapped back to reality and pulled my leg away. "So," I said, looking at the cat, which had comfortably settled in its carrier. "That's your cat?" Eleanor nodded. I frowned instinctively. A finger gently smoothed my brow. Eleanor laughed. "What are you thinking? You don't think I'd do something to that cat, do you?" I quickly shook my head, denying it, but I felt a pang of guilt. That was exactly what I had been thinking. "He's 11 years old," Eleanor said. "He's been with me for 11 years. He's as important as family. I'm not the kind of person who just goes around hurting things. Why would you think that of me?" As she spoke, I could hear a hint of hurt in her voice. The comments were a sea of question marks. What is today? I've actually seen Eleanor smile twice. I've been watching her for years, and this is the second time I've seen her smile. Does anyone remember what happened to the last person who offended Eleanor? Hasn't anyone noticed Eleanor personally brought a stranger home? The first time, you could say he broke in by accident. But what about this time? No way. Has Eleanor really fallen for this security guard? What's so special about him? You've been listening to the gossip outside, haven't you? Eleanor looked at me, the smile never leaving her lips. It's all lies. Don't believe them. Outside, I didn't interact with many people, but in that moment, I recalled so many voices, so many comments. I shook my head again and again. Eleanor's voice grew even gentler. He offended you, so I just returned the favor. That man only lost this project with me. He won't lose his job, and he certainly won't lose his life over it. It seemed Eleanor knew everything, but I still remembered being kicked away by her bodyguards just for looking at her. Her words didn't feel very credible, but I nodded anyway to show I understood. After treating my injury, she took me to a private hospital. The entire building was empty, except for the doctors and nurses standing by. She pointed at me. "Give him a full checkup." I then realized her bodyguards were a new set. The ones who had kicked me were gone. After all the tests were done, I saw the doctor's grave expression. I pressed my lips together, a sense of panic rising. I couldn't even remember how I had died 10 years ago. Can the scars on his body be healed? Aside from some minor ones, yes, the doctor said, his eyes on me. But the old injury on his leg will require some discussion. And this face, it looks like it was reconstructed after an injury. But it's amazing that only the eyes look like the original. I subconsciously touched my face. I didn't look like this before. Eleanor seemed to have already known, her expression calm as she nodded. While they discussed a treatment plan, I was left to stare blankly in the hallway. When they finished, Eleanor handed me a crutch. "Use this until your leg is fully healed." I was hesitant. I was still young, and my leg wasn't that bad. "Please be good." Eleanor's voice was soft, pleading. I took it without thinking, as if I was fundamentally unable to refuse her requests. Seeing me take it, she was satisfied and said she was taking me home. I looked at her, incredulous. "Home?" Eleanor nodded. "From now on, I'll take care of you. You don't have to live like you used to." I couldn't understand Eleanor at all anymore. The way this relationship was progressing, you'd think she was the one trying to win me over. "Why?" Eleanor smiled faintly. "Because I love you. I know why you approached me, and I know why you were resurrected." My heart dropped. She really did know everything. Just as the system said, she controlled the order of this world. Whatever she wanted, that's how the world would turn. Then what about the others? What makes me different from them? Eleanor led me into the car, and the scenery outside began to blur. "Because they were just agents. You're different. You're the one I was trying to get back, my true love." Eleanor's words floated into my ears, hitting my brain with the force of a tidal wave. The text before my eyes exploded once more. Oh my God, what did I just hear? What does that mean? Is Eleanor saying this guy is her late husband? How did she recognize him? This is amazing. No wonder the system chose him to go after Eleanor. So that's the reason. Where are all the people who were calling him useless? Speak up. Sorry, my apologies. No wonder Eleanor was all over him. It's her first love in the flesh. The real deal is the real deal. Even with a new face and no memory, he's better than all those fakes. Wow, the comments are finally praising him. A change in identity really changes everything. Huh? I should apologize too. The moment she said I was her true love, my vision went white. Then countless scenes flashed before my eyes. I reached out to grab them, but my hand closed on empty air. I only understood one. I really was Eleanor's dead husband. After a long moment, I turned to look at her. But I've forgotten. It's okay. Eleanor's smile was gentle. As long as you're back by my side, nothing else matters. The car stopped in the garage. She took my hand and led me to the elevator. In the reflection, I thought I saw the gentle, lovely Eleanor from the flashes of memory. I'll never let you leave again. The moment we stepped inside, Eleanor lost all restraint and threw herself into my arms. As she pulled me into the living room, I fumbled for the light switch, holding her to comfort her. I took in the warm-toned apartment. If my last visit had felt vaguely familiar, this time I understood. I had designed this place myself, filled with my wishes for Eleanor's happiness. In the center of the living room was a wedding photo. I knew at a glance it was me and Eleanor 10 years ago. I really was handsome. Seeing it made me feel a little insecure. Eleanor followed my gaze. It's been 10 years. It took me 10 years to see you again. A click came from a nearby door, and someone walked out. It was Eleanor's daughter, my daughter. She looked at us, stunned. I cleared my throat and sat up, trying to gently separate myself from Eleanor. She wouldn't let go, clinging to me again. She's 9, not a fool. She knows a lot of things. But I still couldn't bring myself to be so intimate in front of our child, nor could I push Eleanor away. The girl walked over and spoke first. My name is Lily. I'm 9. Mom said that by the time she found out she was pregnant, you were already gone. She said you died saving her during that kidnapping. The sealed memories flooded back with Lily's words. I remembered. Back then, Eleanor's and my careers were just taking off. A competitor, unable to beat us, resorted to kidnapping. I found out about the plan beforehand and decided to walk into the trap myself to save Eleanor, who was the original target. When the kidnappers realized I'd brought backup, they flew into a rage and took me out to sea. An explosion sent us all to a watery grave. My leg injury happened when I tried to escape. As the bomb was about to go off, I was shot in the flash of the explosion. I had no way to escape. As Lily spoke, she burst into tears. I missed you so much too. Blood is a strange and powerful thing. Even though we had never met, when Lily ran into my arms, all I wanted to do was cry, overwhelmed with guilt for not being there to watch her grow up. If I had known you were pregnant with her, I never would have taken that risk. I'm so sorry, I whispered, holding her tight. Lily, well raised by Eleanor, was a good girl. She rubbed her small head against my chest. Daddy, I'm here. Daddy, I'm here, she sobbed, her small shoulders shaking. Eleanor sat beside us, watching quietly. Only when we had cried ourselves out did she speak. Okay, Lily, let your dad rest for a bit. A wave of exhaustion hit me. When I woke up again, it was evening. I opened the bedroom door to see Eleanor and Lily setting the table. Daddy, Lily ran over and hugged my leg. This is Mommy's first time cooking. We were just about to wake you up. I smiled and picked Lily up, my gaze shifting to Eleanor. Thank you. Even knowing they were my wife and daughter, I couldn't completely relax yet. Thankfully, Eleanor understood and didn't press the issue. As we ate, I finally asked, how did you recognize me? Eleanor paused. I wasn't sure when I first saw you. You look nothing like your photos. But my heart was racing. In the past 10 years, the only time it did that was when I learned you had died. But the system had sent hundreds of agents to win me over, and I wasn't sure if you were just another one of them and not the real you. Eleanor took a deep breath and looked directly at me. So that day you broke into my home, I truly couldn't believe it. The door code is my birthday plus your birthday. That's why I let my guard down. Do you know how practiced your movements were that day? I only developed my panic attacks after you were gone, yet you acted as if you had never left, as if I were still that naive girl by your side. I was so scared you were a fake, scared that I would wake up and you would be gone again. I couldn't truly accept you without being 100% sure. You see, that cat is very fierce. Back then, he only ever liked you. After you were gone, it took him a long time to warm up to us. So I tested it. When I saw him approach you willingly, I knew I wasn't mistaken. We both recognize you. We missed you so much, Liam. Welcome home. Even though I hadn't remembered anything, tears blurred my vision. The cat, sensing my emotion, came and rubbed against my leg. So even if my mind forgot, my heart and my body remembered. Everything was telling me, welcome home. That night, I tossed and turned, listening as Eleanor told me about the past 10 years, how she raised Lily on her own. She showed me all the photos and videos of Lily from the past 9 years. I didn't know when you would come back, but I knew you'd regret missing it. So I recorded everything. On every holiday, I prepared 2 gifts for her, telling her that her daddy loved her very much and that he would come back one day. Lily was so good. She never once cried for a father. I took the tablet and clicked through the files, watching Lily at different ages. A baby staring at the camera, a little girl smiling for the lens, from barely rolling over to standing, to running and calling for her mom. In every photo they took together, they left a space for me, as if I had never truly left. I couldn't help but cry again. I turned off the tablet and asked her, why were you so sure I would come back? Did you make some kind of deal with the system? Eleanor's arm around me stiffened. Logically, this world should have collapsed long ago, since Eleanor, as the female lead, hadn't followed the system's script. Since she knew about the system, she must have done something to create a stalemate. Eleanor leaned on my shoulder and smiled. Yes, we have a stalemate, or rather, I have it cornered. It needs this world to run its course, for the main characters to live out their lives. But I killed the male lead it had planned. That left only me to maintain the world's order. To stop me from becoming all-powerful, the system sent those agents who were similar to you, hoping one would succeed and divide my power. But I didn't want any of that. I only wanted you. Your return gives it no advantage. It only maintains the status quo. So, of course, it was reluctant. I knew it could bring you back. I just had to become powerful enough that it couldn't do anything to me. Powerful enough that its only option was to bring you back. So for 10 years, it could only watch as I took control of this world's wealth and power, until it had no choice but to send you to me. 10 years. I finally did it. Eleanor's hand stroked my leg, her tone turning cold. But it didn't bring you back whole. You came back with your injuries. I could feel the danger in her voice, but I wasn't afraid. Instead, I smiled. At least I'm grateful to it. It gave me a second chance. Otherwise, you would have been alone for 100 years. Eleanor snorted. It wouldn't dare. I'd make it disappear with me. As if struck by a thought, she hugged me tighter. As long as it doesn't hurt you, it's fine. After talking for so long, I grew sleepy, but Eleanor slept fitfully. In a moment, I felt her pressing into my arms. I instinctively held her tighter. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Eleanor stilled, and I fell completely into a dream. I remembered when I first met Eleanor. She was fighting with stray dogs over scraps of food. The moment our eyes met, my family's nanny pulled a meat bun from her pocket and handed it to her, muttering a prayer and tugging my arm. Let's go, young master. Eleanor was filthy, grabbing the bun and stuffing it in her mouth. Only her eyes were startlingly clean. I held out my hand, thinking that if she took it, I would take her home in a second. She grabbed it, her gaze fixed on me, silent. The nanny, startled by her intensity, tried to separate us, but I refused. I took Eleanor home and washed her, discovering that she wasn't a grimy child, but fair-skinned and rosy. I told my parents I wanted to keep her. I had no reason. I just felt she was quiet and beautiful, and there was nothing wrong with her physically or mentally. A child like that would have been quickly adopted from an orphanage. It wasn't until our nanny fell and hit her head in our house that I saw Eleanor hiding in a corner, a satisfied smile on her face. A chill ran down my spine. That's when I learned she had an antisocial personality. Similar incidents had happened with her biological and adoptive parents. If anyone made her unhappy, she would find a clever way to get revenge. But I kept her secret. I wanted to teach her, to at least make her understand the laws and order of the world, to know how a normal person lived. Perhaps because I was the one who brought her home, she listened to me. I took her to school with me until we graduated high school. Later, my parents were framed. One died in a car accident, the other went to prison. I lost my support system with no power to fight back. By then, Eleanor was vastly different from the child I'd found. She had become gentle and reasonable. She chose to start over with me. We lived in a basement, ate spoiled food, and faced every hardship together. I gave up college to work, supporting her education while I worked odd jobs. I wanted her to go far. Since I had chosen to be responsible for her life as a child, I had to see it through. After she graduated from college, my company was starting to take shape, and I became a target of the system. After we got married, I died on the sea I loved so much. Without my influence, Eleanor didn't even bother to pretend anymore. She took over my company and immediately killed the first male lead the system sent. The system didn't dare do anything to her, certainly not let her go to prison. Eleanor became more and more brazen, uncontrollable. She knew she was the heroine of a tragic novel, knew that I was destined to die. So for the past 10 years, everything she did was to change the ending and bring me back. With all my memories returned, I woke with a start. It was 8 in the morning. Eleanor was still sleeping soundly in my arms. A wave of emotion too complex to name washed over me. I leaned in and gently kissed her forehead, whispering, "Eleanor, I remember everything. I'm really back." As if hearing me, Eleanor slowly woke from her dream. Her body trembled as she wrapped her arms around me tightly. "Liam." She called my name over and over, and I answered every time. "Yes, it's me. It's really me." 10 years. I was finally back. Seeing that my affection meter was full, the system finally let out a sigh of relief. It gave us a happy ending, a lifetime of happiness. The stream of comments that had followed our journey appeared one last time. "Congratulations. Really, congratulations. I'm actually crying. Oh my God. I thought this was a conquest story, but it was a homecoming. I don't want to say goodbye, but it's time. Liam and Eleanor, you have to be happy forever." Slowly, the words faded from view. I knew this was the true end. From now on, it was just me and Eleanor, living our real lives. After a lazy morning in bed, we finally got up. It was the weekend, and Lily was still sleeping in. I looked around the apartment, and after a long thought, I spoke. "Eleanor, let's move. This place holds a lot of our memories, but if we're starting over, I think we should leave the past completely behind." Eleanor agreed. Later, we moved to a beautiful villa in Marin County. Lily loved the new house, though she was a little unsettled. For the first week, she would look at us with pleading eyes. "Mommy, Daddy, I want to sleep with you. I'm a little scared." Eleanor, hands on her hips, gave a firm no. But this was my first time truly living with my daughter, and I couldn't refuse her. "Come on, just this once, okay?" That night, she lay between us, her face a picture of contentment. I've only ever seen kids sleeping between their parents on TV. Even though I'm a big girl now, I finally get to do it. I'm so happy. I nodded gently, looking at my wife and daughter sleeping beside me. I was happy too.